So when I uploaded part 1 of 100 Phantom Forces tips and tricks, I did not expect it to get 500 likes in a day. And because I don't want to make a part 3 because this one took me so long, let's go for 10k likes. 10k likes and I'll make a part 3, but that will just never happen. Anyways, this is 100 Phantom Forces tips and tricks part 2. Let's get into it. A tip about selling skins for new players: if you put a skin on your gun and then you sell it after you put it on, it will actually stay on the gun. However, if it's a customizable, you can't customize it and you can't take the skin off ever again, unless you want to just get rid of it. If you take it off, you can't put it back on. Another thing about melees, if you unlock them and you have a skin on them, you could still sell the skin for like $1,000 and you will keep the melee. Advanced stats are very important. I could make an advanced stats guide because a lot of people don't know multis and damages and ranges and stuff like that, but keep them in mind and check them before you actually decide if a gun is really good. The Zip 22 rat shot conversion can do 81 headshot damage as long as you hit every pellet to the head. If you fall off something and you press W and shift, you are sometimes able to get a huge boost which can throw you very far. It's kind of like an EMP slide, except it's actually a lot farther. Most AK-12 guns, especially the AKU-12 with the 9mm conversion, is very good while bursting. This includes the RPK-12, AK-12, AKU-12 with 9mm conversion, and guns like that. Always pre-buy guns in the test place before you purchase them in the main game. You won't lose credits because credits don't save in the test place. And another thing about the test place is that if you're going for points, never play in the test place because obviously it doesn't save and you don't get them forever. Some guns like the Saiga-12U and Obres can become basically secondary primaries if you have enough attachments. If you put a long barrel, an extended mag, and a stock on the Obres, it basically becomes a Mosin. If you hip fire with a shotgun, it is perfectly accurate. However, zooming in will center the pellet spread, so technically it's better to aim, but hip firing is basically just as effective. Wearing headphones in PF and not listening to music is actually very, very helpful. Remember to not listen to music and wear headphones, so that way you can hear directional audio and hear every gunshot and every footstep. Aiming center of mass with a shotgun is actually better than aiming for the head. Headshot multis on shotguns aren't that good, and chances are due to spread, you're gonna hit more pellets with a bigger hitbox than you are with a smaller one. Some low recoil autos, like the old AUG H-bar, were very good with the muzzle booster, and the SVDS actually works pretty well with it. It gets an extra 5 RPM, and the recoil doesn't become too unmanageable. If you hold down G when you have a grenade out, your crosshair will flicker every second. It'll flicker 4 times and then explode on the 5th time. Use this to time grenade shots and actually hit somebody immediately as the grenade explodes. Use your guns depending on the map and rotation. If the map is Mirage, a sniper is better than a PDW, but if the map is Bazaar, the opposite is true. If you disable shadows and ROBLOX particles, along with a few other things like shaders, the game runs much better. If you use a Scar series gun, the folding grip isn't that good since they already have very low camera recoil. You can actually get much more credits by playing the objective, since the person with the most points gets 50 credits on the winning team. You get a lot of points for capturing the objective, and if your team didn't play the objective that well, you'll lose and not get MVP. Pre-firing around a corner that you already know a player is behind is incredibly helpful. You can make this even better by listening to them if you have headphones on. The Uzi with a 22 LR conversion is actually pretty viable. It has a 50 round drum and does massive headshot damage. However, the body damage is not that good. Every gun that has a full stock except the SVDS and the KS23M are just better. The Sten or L2A3 has incredible hipfire. If you use a good hipfire setup, it basically is as accurate as when it aims. If you like fouls but you like good headshot damage, the SA58 SPR can one-shot headshot up close and can two-shot headshot all ranges, but still feels like a foul. Playing on console is actually very easy if you're a good console player. This is because most players are actually pretty bad on console. You can buy a name tag next to your name for 70,000 credits. A few melee, such as the World Buster, are able to one-shot anywhere on the body, whether it's a backstab or not. The intervention has a very weird delay after the bolt. You can't ADS during that time for some reason, but if you use the straight pull bolt, it will actually fix that. If you don't like actually killing people with melees, the Brass Knuckles is incredibly good for getting out of fights. Since it walks so fast, you can just escape. For some reason, you can't get banned for using a macro, although it's pretty cringe to use one. If you're jumping out of a window, you can still press X and super jump after you started falling. You can actually reverse the super jump and get on top of some buildings like ones on Desert Storm using this. If you have a gun that can change fire modes and you spam V, you can get kind of a weird alt aim. You can cancel a reload by just pressing left click while reloading. A lot of people might cancel camp on crane, but it's not actually that good to camp on. Yes, you can see a lot of the map, but people will shoot back at you very easily. On most guns, the compensator is the go-to barrel attachment. There are very few guns where it's not the best one, so just use it on all your guns, and it will probably be pretty good. If you hold a frag as the game ends, the frag just won't explode. If you throw a frag right before the game ends, you can kill yourself or others after the end of the game and get the final kill. You actually get an XP bonus for unlocking new attachments on your guns, so using a lot of different guns actually increases the amount of XP you get. You can break glass with frag grenades. I don't know how to say this, but the Bundeswehr sight or whatever, the one for the MG3 KWS, actually gives you an alt aim on every gun that it's on. Sniping in PF is actually a lot harder than using auto, so I recommend you improve your aim with automatic guns before using snipers. The AK-103, AK-105, and AK-12 have a bars barrel. The AK-103 and 105 actually get 850 RPM. However, the AK-12 just gets a weird delayed burst. If you're super jumping, just aim down sights and it will cancel your super jump. This is very, very effective, by the way. Currently, the best gun in the game is more or less the RPK-12. Despite what most people think, RPM isn't everything. In fact, some low RPM guns like the M3A1 are incredibly effective for what they are. You can actually take positions through walls on some maps, such as on Hardpoint Bazaar, where you can take the point through a wall. Despite the CAC SRR and the Jury being very similar, the CAC SRR shoots a lot faster. Some guns with low RPM actually have incredibly fast time to kill, such as the shotguns, which can kill in 0.00 seconds due to the fact that they can one-shot. The SVU and the SVDS actually have exactly the same muzzle velocity, even though the SVDS does a lot more damage. The SVU can actually have a long barrel, which makes it have more than the SVDS. The Remington 870 with slugs is almost a better version of the Henry. Its reloading is much less tedious, and it actually does 99 limb damage and can one-shot to the torso. The Stevens DB with slugs is actually more or less an upgrade to the regular gun because you can actually one hit to the limbs to like 75 studs, and on burst it does about 216 limb damage. Since the video is halfway over, please consider liking. We're trying to go for 10k likes. That's probably not going to happen, but if it does happen, comment your tips down below. If you have trouble hitting no scopes with a sniper, if you stop moving for just a second, your sniper shot will become perfectly accurate, which allows you to hit no scopes very easily. There are currently 3 playable versions of Mirage. There's also the older versions and the Halloween versions, so the total number of versions is probably about 6 or so. And despite Mirage being one of the most hated maps, if not the most hated map, it's actually very good for getting long range kills and sniping. Remember that only certain guns are good for certain people. For example, I really like the G3, but most people will probably not like it. Theoretically, the Shire Scout is the best sniper in the game. It has incredibly fast handling, 85 RPM, and can one-shot headshot all ranges. Another gun that's great for very experienced players is the Mark 11 with the 500 Phantom. This ammo type can actually give you a torso kill, however it's hard to hit shots with. The VSS Venturas actually used to be able to one-shot headshot, but now it does 99 headshot damage. If somebody's weakened at all, you will be able to one-shot headshot, so keep this in mind when using the VSS. Just a little suggestion, use the Farged, it's the best gun. In PF, if you prone or crouch, it will not reduce recoil. However, since it makes you aim a little bit lower, theoretically it makes you hit more shots, but it doesn't really help that much. If you press F5, you can get the first kill of every game. If you use a red laser on the WA 2000, it has a purple laser. But if you use the tri-laser, it has 3 red lasers and not 3 purple lasers. Speaking of the red laser, it's actually really good on DMRs. The reason for this is because it makes your recoil recovery speed better, which is very important on a tappy gun like a DMR. The vertical grip is also decent on DMRs. It makes your recovery speed a lot better. However, it does increase your kick. Using the server browser allows you to play Mirage or Bazaar 24/7. Just because your favorite YouTuber, including me, says a gun is good, doesn't mean it's right for you. Don't feel pressured to use a certain gun because I say I like it, unless it's the Farged. Don't make ranking up feel like a chore. If you're not having fun with the game, consider taking a break. PF is supposed to be fun, it's not supposed to be something you take too seriously. The AK-103 is actually a pretty good gun, but the AKM is simply built different. It has better damage but the same RPM and basically the same recoil. Now the AK-103 might be good, but the base AK-105 is pretty bad. It has pretty bad damage, the recoil isn't that good, and it has AK-47 base RPM, which is pretty slow. The new SUSAT scope is completely outclassed by the TA-01 ACOG. This is because the TA-01 ACOG has a better main view and a better alt aim. Although Mosin 8mm is still pretty good after the nerf, extended mag will probably perform better because you just get get double the capacity. You can play cool game modes in a VIP server using commands like Juggernaut or Gun Game. The Gun Game and other game modes can actually be played in the main game, however, only stylist staff can initiate it. The 1858 carbine and Henry 4570 are pretty similar, but the Henry has double the torso kill range, which makes it overall a little bit better. There's a Malcolm 3X and a Malcolm 6X. The 3X one is by far more used, and it's not actually too bad for low recoil automatic guns. The new gyrojet guns are theoretically the best guns in the game, however, I find them quite annoying to use and I don't really like them that much. Primary secondary guns are basically worse in every way to their primary counterparts, however, they're still secondaries and not primaries. Another quirk of these guns is that they are always unlocked later than their primary counterparts. For example, the Saiga 12 is unlocked way before the Saiga 12U is. If you don't want to have to use a worse version of a primary, the 93R is busted. For some reason, drop-shotting players will make you almost always win fights just because nobody drop shots in this game and they won't aim down usually. Fast walk speed on guns tends to be overlooked. Like I said, check this in advanced stats. That's why some stuff like remove stock are actually pretty good. The Rama actually had rat shot when it first came out, but it was busted and was removed and replaced with 380 ACP. Speaking of the Rama, the MP7 is almost better, with the same RPM but higher damage and basically the same recoil. But the Rama does have a very good capacity. The KG99 does less minimum damage than the Tech 9, despite it having about half the RPM. The MP7 used to actually have a fast reload, but they buffed all the other PDW's reloads, so now it's pretty much considered bad. Plus P ammo is actually super good. It increases your muzzle velocity, penetration, and range, but makes your recoil a lot worse. However, special ammo is basically bad on every single gun. It makes your damage a lot worse, but only makes your recoil slightly better. The Saiga 12 full auto conversion doesn't make your gun shoot faster, it just makes your spread terrible. In early versions of the game, you were actually able to change your team. You can no longer do that in the main game, but you can in a VIP server, even if you aren't the owner. The MAC-10 is honestly kind of slept on in CQC. It can two-shot headshot at over 1100 RPM, and the recoil is manageable up close. If you want to use the AK-12 or AK-74, consider using their RPK variants, as they allow for the same playstyle with better capacity. The K2 used to be incredibly strong, however its recoil is not quite as good, but with 223 it's still very, very good. The best gun in the game actually used to be the M60, then it became the Scar Hammer, and then it became the RPK-12. Super armor piercing ammo is actually really good on the RPK-12 and the AN-94. Some guns that don't lose their 4-shot kill, like the L85A2, are very good with regular AP. Certain shotguns with birdshot are actually very viable, such as the Stevens DB and KS-23M. The flashlight attachment is basically useless. During 2020 Halloween, you could actually use it for a certain map, but it wasn't even effective then. Some weird attachments give you alt aim, like remove stock on the Vector and the drum mag Tommy gun. The TRG-42 has a great torso kill, great velocity, and a 42 style limb kill with long barrel, and can be considered an SFG with 6 bullets. Well, there you have it, gamers, another 100 Phantom Forces tips and tricks. Please, if you watched all the way to the end, subscribe, comment your favorite tip, comment more tips, and like the video. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.